Coming up on Fox 44 News at 9, Chalk Bluff residents voiced their concerns over plans for a new water treatment plant. And the battle over jurisdiction at the border after 3 migrants drowned trying to cross the Rio Grande. Also, the World Series champions are coming to Waco. We'll tell you when and where.
Live from Waco, Temple, and Killeen, your news now. This is Fox 44 News at 9.
Good evening and thanks for joining us on Fox 44 News at 9. I'm Raul Stoudemire filling in for Adam and MG. Waco City Council members heard today from concerned community members about plans to build a new water treatment plant near the Brazos River. Those concerned live in the Chalk Bluff neighborhood and feel like they weren't consulted about the plan.
In the community, we're alarmed. We haven't been given a lot of information about this. I called the city's office in October on the 7th. And I called 3 different departments, and I never got any returns.
Gallons per year is close to 1 billion gallons of treated sewage going into Lake Brazos. These are beautiful parks that are what we are known for. I mean, heavens to Betsy, our sign says Brazos on the rise. Rising with what? What are you feeding it?
There's plenty of time there now to back this up. Now that they know, now that there's awareness that there's all of us are so upset and the devastating effect it's going to have on us, which nobody looked into in the beginning.
Once public comments were over, the city addressed some of these concerns. The council says the plans for building a new water treatment center started in 2019 and that it won't actually be needed to be online for another 10 years. Waco City Manager Bradley Ford says that means there will be time to reach agreements with people living in the area. Ford also discussed concerns about the smell, saying the new plant will be modeled after the Bullhide Creek plant.
And one of the most important elements to know about Bullhide is that, and this plant, is that the more odorous solids that are produced in the process will be hauled to the central plant for their processing. And if you've ever been to Bullhide and central plant, you know there's a distinct difference in the odor that comes from those facilities.
The council also explained that it brought the Buster Chatham site because of its size, which makes it possible to build barriers around the plant. We'll continue to follow the story. Well, the Huon and Waco fire departments teamed up to quickly extinguish a house fire Monday evening. The fire department showed up at the 600 block of Castleman Creek around 5:30 in the evening. When crews showed up, the attic was already on fire. A resident confirmed everyone already evacuated the building for first responders to extinguish the fire. Officials say the house suffered major fire and water damage. No injuries were reported. The cause of the fire was pinned down to an exterior wall due to the heating of a water faucet which caught the wall insulation on fire. And another structure fire Monday in Morgan's Point Resort resulted in no injuries. Fire units showed up to a home on Wyatt Earp Drive around 10 in the morning. The homeowner reported smoke was coming from the attic area above the garage. Crews quickly found and extinguished the fire. In the end, the fire caused minimal damage to the home. In our crime report, 24-year-old Kashawn Damon Bowens is behind bars on charges of sexual assault of a child after an outcry was made to the mother of the victim. The affidavit states how the child told her mother the incidents happened on multiple occasions between July and September of last year. They happened at a home in Troy and once at an apartment in Temple. As the investigation was completed, a warrant was obtained and Bowens was arrested. Bowens is now in the Bell County Jail. Well, the search for an endangered missing teen is underway in Robertson County. 17-year-old Noble Thomas Gross was last seen just after midnight today in the 400 block of Holly Street in Franklin. He's 5'6" and weighs 201 pounds. He has brown hair and green eyes, and he was last seen wearing black pants and a dark gray hoodie with white lettering on the left sleeve. If you see Gross, the Amber Alert Network says to not approach him. You're encouraged to call local law enforcement or contact the Robertson County Sheriff's Office at the number on your screen. The Department of Justice sent a memo to the U.S. Supreme Court late last night in response to Texas closing off access to a park in Eagle Pass along the border. The state did this because 3 migrants drowned Friday trying to cross the Rio Grande near the park. The Biden administration says they could have saved if Border Patrol had access to the area, but the state says that's not true. Our Monica Madden has more on this new dispute over jurisdiction at the border.
Tensions escalating at the border after Texas blocked access to Shelby Park along the Rio Grande. Later Friday, 3 migrants, 2 of them children, drowned near the park.
Should have never kicked out the very agency that has the power under federal law to arrest illegals, number one, and provide humanitarian care.
Congressman Henry Cuellar believes federal agents could have saved the migrants if they were at Shelby Park.
Border Patrol would have seen people on the Mexican side, would have sent people in the river.
But the president of the National Border Patrol Council disagrees.
Even if we would have been notified in a timely manner and were able to get personnel and get those boats down there, it would have taken an exponential amount of time. Whereas we know that drownings happen in a matter of minutes.
Saying Texas's presence opens up Border Patrol's resources.
We consider it a force multiplier, so it is a good thing for border security.
In a Monday letter to the U.S. Supreme Court, the Department of Justice said, quote, Texas has continued to impede Border Patrol's ability to access the border, pointing to this tragedy as the latest example.
These are all just flashpoints for the broader attempt by Governor Abbott to basically claim the mantle of immigration enforcement.
Constitutional law experts say the precedent is clear.
As long as the federal government is, within the bounds of its authority, the federal government wins. And that's a lesson that was learned over and over again in the school desegregation cases in the 1950s and 1960s.
And it's all teeing up a larger fight in the courts.
One way or the other, the Supreme Court is going to have to step in one of these disputes between Texas and the federal government.
Wild weather is creating a mess across the nation, and it's threatening people's power supply in some areas. New York Central Park got a layer of snow for the first time in about 700 days, while folks in Philadelphia saw more than 3 inches. In D.C., it made for a fun time as snowball fights played out in front of the Capitol, and it was a snow day for many students and lawmakers. Meanwhile, several southern states have been dealing with freezing temperatures. In New Orleans, the ice led police to shut down some roads and bridges, and Austin broke a record with almost 650 people needing to stay in warming centers last night. And people in Houston woke up to below freezing temperatures today, prompting one small business owner to open up his doors to the public. Jim Mattress Mac Mackingvale is once again using his store Gallery Furniture as a warming center for those in need. The furniture owner says a lot of locals have been left in the cold due to power outages, and others may be unhoused and left with nowhere to go. He says this Gallery Furniture location is open for them to warm up and take refuge. A winter weather advisory is in effect until tonight in the Houston area, with residents urged to take extreme caution on the roadways. Well, for sports, we have some Texas Rangers coming to town. The World Series team is touring the state with the Commissioner's Trophy and will be at the Texas Sports Hall of Fame from 2:30 to 4 in the afternoon. Cody Bradford, Josh Smith, Tony Beasley, Brett Hayes, Eric Nadel will sign autographs for the first 225 people in line. Coming up, what measures the Senate is taking to try to avoid a partial government shutdown before Friday's deadline. And after a big win in Iowa, former President Donald Trump sets his sights on New Hampshire.
This is Fox 44 News at 9 with Adam Hooper, MG Montemayor, AMS certified chief meteorologist Mike LaPointe, and sports with Eric Kelly.